And then he invited me for dinner at the Ritz Hotel in London in August. And I remember I had to go on a Sunday night and put on a suit and tie with my wife. We met him for dinner with Sally, his wife, who's amazing, by the way. Love Sally. Don't like Dan, but love Sally. And at that dinner, he said, Brian, you need to come to my castle and come to a real week with me in this seminar. And that is where I had to make a decision. And again, everything inside me was saying, no, this is a bad idea. F this guy. And then I said yes. So
that castle was more like a boot camp with tons of alpha males, right? Should we watch a video?
Yeah, let's watch a video of me going to the castle. This would have been October. I remember I was there for Halloween night, October 31st of 2014. Here's the video.
This week on London Real, I travel to Guthrie Castle in Scotland to be mentored by Dan Pena, the $50 billion man.
All the high performance guys and gals that I know are exactly the same. They push. And they're not afraid of, stepping on their dick. They're not afraid of failure. They're not afraid of embarrassing themselves. It's fucking hard to be a high performance person and be at the top of your game. When I don't feel like being productive, I tell myself, you cunt, you're gonna do it anyway. I believe in baptism by fire. We've had people pass out, people shit their pants.
Jesus Christ.
I am special. There's no fucking doubt about it. My whole life I've been in the flow. I was doing Spartan shit 40 fucking years ago. The only thing I can't control is you giving up on yourself. I help people do what they don't want to do to be what they want to be.
So again, there's an entire 2.5 hour episode of me at the castle. It's got the before interview, and then it's got an after interview, and it shows pieces from my 7 days in the castle. I had to wear a suit and tie every day. I literally had to pull all my old suits out of the closet from Wall Street and dust them off. I was cursing the whole thing because wearing a tie every day, I didn't even do that on Wall Street.
Yeah.
I didn't ever dress like this when I was in the city of London. So, and going up there was a really difficult thing to do. We were having a really hard time at home. We were trying to have a baby, and my wife had suffered a miscarriage, and it was a really low moment. And it was a really perfect chance for me to quit on that opportunity. Dan was being a jerk. He had just gone to a conference, and he told someone at the conference that he was gonna beat me like a rented mule. And they came back and said, Dan said he's gonna beat you like a rented mule. And I said, fuck this guy. And I went up to that castle. I took a 6-hour train journey up the coast, up there, thinking about it the whole time. And I went in the castle thinking, if he pushes it 1 second too far, I'm in a fucking taxi and I'm gone. That's the way I walked into the castle with Dan. Now you see us smiling and stuff, but I was on the edge because I didn't like this guy. But I got to the castle, and it was just an incredible 7-day experience. First of all, it feels like home, Guthrie Castle, in a weirdly weird way.
Wow.
It smells like my grandpa's ranch in Arizona in a weird way. Dan Pena is something out of a movie. Yeah. You seriously can't make him up. The Bond villain's got nothing on Dan Pena. Yeah. Here you got some guy, ex-oil man, ex-Wall Street guy, who lives in a castle in Scotland, who screams at the top of his lungs, who wears 3-piece suits. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Yeah. Dan has lived a crazy-ass life. And you get up there, and it's real. The service is 5-star. The butlers are there. Everything's there. And I've been in 5-star hotels, and he does an amazing job. And the seminar was really good. And I said, what you're going to do is you're going to isolate us. You're going to break us down. He's ex-military. You're going to deprogram us and reprogram us up. And I said, I know what you're doing, Dan. And he said, okay, you're right. And then he did it to me. So we were up there. It was actually all men that time. He has women too. And we all became like this wolf pack. And it was like one of the funnest things I've ever done. People see Dan being mean all the time. He actually tells a lot of funny stories, and sometimes it's fun in the background. So that was my experience with Dan. I came back from that castle on a mission. And some things changed with me that I can't even explain to this day. I started dressing differently, even though he didn't tell me to. I started just taking everything more seriously. Within months, I hired our first full-time employee here, Julian Bales, who's been with us since then, who was volunteering before that, who's still here and is an incredible part of this organization. I just started getting my shit together. And as much as I currently hate Dan Pena, I will always have to thank him for that. And again, the world gave me this incredible sign. And I say, if it was no Dan Pena, there would be no London Real. And I hate saying that right now, but it's true. It's true. And I used to say the old man is always right. And That's not true, Dan. You're not always right. Sometimes you're fucking wrong. But he's usually right because he's telling you what you don't want to hear. And I always used to joke that there's Pena and there's ayahuasca. I used to call it the Pena-osca. And people say ayahuasca is something that people drink and it makes you more loving and it's this total hippie vibe typically. And Pena is this alpha male, kill everybody, dominate vibe. How could these two be the same? But they both call you on your own bullshit is what they do. They both look at you and say, it's not good enough. Look what you're not doing right. So I find those two experiences to be very similar, very uncomfortable. My meetings with Dan usually suck because he's usually being really nasty to me, and saying horrible things to me, and saying it's not good enough. There's nothing I can do that's good enough for Dan Pena. If I made $1 billion in the next few years, he'd be like, so what? I've got mentees that have made $16 billion. I've created $1 trillion of net worth. He said $1 billion. I mean, like, I've seen Dan say things that just would shock most people. You know, he had a mentee at the thing who had made $70 million. He's like, $70 million? He's like, I wouldn't get out of bed to take a shit for that kind of money. That's what Dan says. Jeez. So it's like, he's always pushing you to be better. And in some ways, it's incredible to have someone like that, a coach. But in some ways, it's really difficult. And at some point, I have to become Brian Rose, just like the movie Wall Street. There's Gordon Gekko and there's Bud Fox. And at the very end, Bud Fox said, at the end of the day, I realize as much as I wanted to be Gordon Gekko, I'll always be Bud Fox. And he walks away from Gordon. And I have that moment with Dan on a regular basis. You know? And again, I'm very different than Dan. And for Dan, he's got one metric. It's money in the bank.
Money in the bank.
And for me, I have other metrics. And he tells me that they're wrong. And sometimes he's right, but sometimes he's wrong. So my relationship continued with Dan over the years in different ways. And he continued to mentor me.